Esther would when she was as far back as she can remember. Okay, Mama, hit it.
Well, oh,
I know something that you could start out with. Tell the story about when the donkey ate your rag doll.
oh, I remember that when we lived in
Now
the
talk a
old
little louder.
house.
Talk a little louder.
I'm not gonna scream this.
Okay.
Turn the TV off.
Oh yeah, let's turn the TV off.
I left my rag doll out on the front porch. And I looked up and here was this old donkey and he had that rag doll of mine and all I could see was one leg of the doll. And he was chewing on it and the straw was coming out of his mouth that he was stuffed with. And I'll never forget that old donkey. I just hate him. And then I remember the time when we had this outside John and I was in it and Papaw had climbed up on the windmill to fix the windmill and I heard Mama. She was hollering for me to come quick. And I thought they were just teasing me. And sure enough, Papaw had fell off the windmill. One of the slats on top of the windmill had broken.
Oh my gosh.
And he fell off the windmill and he was laying on the ground with the breath knocked out of him.
Oh, good night.
And I just kind of laughed at him because
You thought that he was teasing, yeah.
And so anyway, they finally, he came to, and Mother took him into the doctor. Nothing was heard about him. He just got the breath knocked out of him.
Well, now, what did the windmill have to do with the John?
Well, that's where I was sitting when he fell off the windmill.
Well, did Mama say anything to you about being slow?
No, she just said to Esther Lee, come quick. Come here. And I looked and I just laughed and I said, what do you want? And so, anyway.
Tell us about you and the horny frog.
That's fun. I want you to tell that story too.
Then, well, I'm still talking about this old house, the older house that we lived in.
Oh, was that before the house that I knew
Yeah.
of?
Yeah,
Oh.
you never saw this old house.
How old were you when Papa fell off the windmill?
Oh, I would imagine that I was, I don't know, 4 or 5, something like that. I just.
We were just a little
know.
video thing.
But then they tore, Mother and Daddy tore the. Oh, another thing I remember in this old house was that we had a bathtub in it, but we didn't have running water. And so I got in the bathtub one night for my bath, and Mama heated the water on the stove, and so I got in the bathtub, and she didn't know I was already in the tub, so she came with a bucket of hot water, put in there, and threw it right on me.
Oh my gosh, Mother. Did it scald you?
Yes, it scalded.
I bet it did, Lordy.
But it was, I got up pretty quick.
I bet you did.
Oh, turn off the TV.
So that's all I remember about that old house down there.
Now, was that down by what I remember, the barn? Is that where that house was?
I think there
There
was
in
a small
Goliad?
barn down there.
Yeah, well, more like a shed.
Yeah.
Well, did they build the new house before they tore the old one down, or?
Well, I guess they must have. I don't know what we'd lived in. I don't remember. It seemed like that they took lumber, they bought some of the lumber, I guess. And then they took lumber from the old house and built the house up on top of the hill
Uh-huh.
up there. And that's the house that you remember.
Yeah.
And
That
then-
was up on a hill then, huh?
yeah, that one.
Well, it was higher up ground.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because the other one was down where, I think the old orchard was still there, part of it. I know there were some pear trees
Mm-hmm.
down there and plum trees. But then I remember, and I can still remember having Christmas there in that old house.
Mm-hmm.
And with candles, we didn't have electricity.
So yeah, just like the
With-
old fashioned.
with the candles on it.
Mm-hmm. I bet that's pretty.
Well, the tree caught fire.
Where'd y'all get the Christmas tree?
Well, where do you think out in the pasture?
You would just cut a limb off of a tree, wouldn't you?
Oak tree or?
Just, well,
That's what I remember Mama doing one time when I stayed up there right before Christmas. I must have stayed there during Thanksgiving or something, or right at the beginning of the Christmas holidays, and she put up just an oak tree. I mean, like a limb, and decorated that
well, it doesn't seem like it was an oak tree. It seemed like it was more of
like a fir,
a mesquite. There was more mesquite trees
Oh.
down there, wasn't there? Yeah. But
Maybe a cedar tree?
or now those are pretty.
they didn't have cedar trees. Didn't go
Oh, okay.
there. Who told you that?
I just knew
For
you wanted
somebody-
my 2
For
cents.
somebody that didn't want to talk. And that's all I can remember about that old house. And I really don't remember a whole lot about them. All at once, I know we were in, that the house was
In the
built
other-
up there.
Uh-huh.
And
Well, about
But-
how old were you when you moved to that, to the new house?
I really don't remember. I don't remember whether when I started school, if we were in the old house or the new house.
Hmm.
But seems like we might have been in the old house. I really don't remember. Because I can remember when we were in the newer house
Uh-huh.
that it had, let's see, I believe 4 bedrooms and a living room, dining room. And I remember on the built fireplace, no, 1 bedroom was for my grandmother,
Mm-hmm.
and she stayed there part-time.
No, it's not Mama's mother?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And that's the one she dipped snuff, didn't she?
yeah, and her name was Nellie.
Nellie. Well, I
Nellie
never knew
Bridwell.
that.
Yeah.
Bridwell.
Yeah, she's the one that spit on snuff, dipped snuff, spit on the post.
Yeah.
And Mama would take her stick away from her, and she'd poor thing to have to go out and cut her
Oh.
another one, and then she'd have to chew on it to get it all limbered up so she could rub her snuff all over the house.
Is that what she used the stick for?
Yeah, to,
Oh, she didn't just put a wad of it in her mouth.
no, she,
You rubbed it on your mouth and then you
I
spit?
think rubbed it in your mouth and got it in your mouth like you
She'd
wanted
get
it.
the end of a stick like a paintbrush
Yeah. Get it all soppy, huh?
and then dip it down. Go ahead. Didn't mean to alter your story.
Is this your life? Anyway, so about the next thing I can remember, and this was before Wheeler was married, that I can remember Christmas time that Wheeler, Wheeler and Alice, and then we'd come home for Christmas.
Mhm.
And I can always remember that I looked forward to Wheeler coming because he bought me a doll.
Yeah.
And Uncle Alice, being as conservative as he was, he bought fruit, apples and oranges,
Mhm.
stuff like that. And so then all I can remember is the big orchard, and then I remember we used to, when I was in
Well, Mama, where was the orchard? Where? Because I'm not sure. Did I ever know?
oh yeah, right as you drove up to the front of the house, the orchard was over to your left.
Oh.
Peaches and plums.
Okay. Yeah, I know where you're talking about now.
And
But there was just a plum tree that I remember, just one plum tree
but
left.
they had peaches, pears
Yeah.
never did.
Okay, but I never thought of that particular area as the orchard.
Yeah, they had for many years a big orchard out there. And fruit. I don't remember where we were living when I did the corn toad. I remember they'd go to the cotton patch and I would sit down at the little cotton patch because I was too little.
Yeah.
And I picked up this little horny toad and I would feed me. Nikki, did your mother ever tell you this? And I took the little horny toad and I put him up here to feed him. And he bit me.
Oh, I remember
And
this,
he-
yeah.
Yeah.
He wouldn't let go.
He wouldn't let go. So I had to run down that cotton patch. And I think Harold was the one that pulled him off. Not only did he pull the frog off, but a piece of skin came with him.
Last time you nursed a horn toad.
Yeah, that showed I needed a dog.
Hey, could you show us your scar?
Anyway,
Yeah, you definitely needed a doll. You didn't, was that maybe right after the donkey ate your doll that you resorted to horn toads?
I guess so. Maybe that's why Wheeler gave me a doll. But another thing I remember too is the fact that when us kids, when we went to that country school out there,
Yeah.
that we had to walk, and it was about 2 miles, and I hear people tell about how they walk,
Yeah.
through all.
Okay, go back to the horn toad. Tell,
I'm not gonna tell that.
you're not gonna
part.
tell that again? Well, I don't know, I'm hoping we got it on.
Well,
Oh,
I
tell
think
you
the
what,
last thing I told was about going to school through
going through, yeah, tell
Yeah.
that, about how y'all,
how we, during the winter time, it was so cold that we'd stop and make a fire.
yeah, to
Warm
warm.
up our hands. And
Well, let's give it another try here. It's supposed to be doing. It says it's got lots of battery juice.
Well,
Okay,
see,
y'all would build that fire and warm your
I
hands.
charged it. Happen.
We'll talk fast in case it's.
Anyway,
On again?
well, first year though, we went to this, I believe it was first and second grade into the little country school that only had
Uh-huh.
2 rooms in it. And the teacher would first teach, they only had 2 teachers, I think, and they would teach. And it went just to the 8th grade. And she would teach the first grade, and then she would move on to the second grade.
Yeah.
Like that. And do you remember Aunt Exa?
Mm-hmm.
She taught school out there
Oh.
at one time. And I remember at one time we rode horseback to school. And I remember that they would take the milk over to the mailbox, these big milk cans full of milk,
Yeah, what was that for?
for the milkmen to come by and pick them up.
Uh-huh.
They were selling the milk. And when we got out of school, we got on the horse, Lizzie and I,
Uh-huh.
and then we'd have to stop and get these old milk cans. And every time we'd stop to get the milk can, the saddle on it fall off the horse. We'd have to stop and put the saddle back on. And then we, I think that was just the first and second grade. In about third grade, then they put these, the buses in,
Mm-hmm.
where they came by and picked you up in a bus and took us into town.
Yeah.
Took us to the town. And Daddy,
Well, what grade were you in by
well,
that
I
time?
think I must have been in about the third grade, because Daddy drove the school bus.
Uh-huh.
And he had to go way someplace and get the school bus and come by and, go around and pick up everybody's kids and take them to school.
Yeah.
And that went on until we were, I think I must have been in about the 7th or 8th grade, somewhere along there. When Mother rented a house in town,
Mm-hmm.
and we stayed in town during the week and went to school, and then we'd go back out on the farm on the weekend.
You know, be careful how you stepping across it.
And
It's all right if you go in front of it. It won't hurt.
so,
Be careful.
anyway, that was up until I was in we only had 11th grade at that time.
Yeah.
And that was up until I was in 10th grade. And then in the 11th grade, I was trying to think. That's what I told you. I don't remember graduating, but I know I did. I don't. I remember the prom. I know I went to the prom, and then
Did you go with Gus?
no, I went with I didn't know Gus at the time, or
Mhm.
I knew him. I wasn't working at the store, but I went with Theodore.
Theodore. You called him
Dude.
Theodore instead of Teddy?
Yeah, absolutely. He was, his grandfather was a doctor there in town doctor. And I was chosen to be, down in Kingsville, they have Lantana
Yeah.
Day. Well, I was chosen to represent Goliad. They
Mhm.
want Lantana Tag.
Yeah.
And,
Daddy, are you about through in there?
Yeah.
I
Okay.
remember Mother making me this real pretty evening gown. It
Yeah.
really was a pretty
I bet it
gown
was.
for them. It was white. It had little turquoise ribbon, velvet ribbon out there with little bows.
Mhm.
And I think it was strapless.
Oh, I bet it was
with
so
a
pretty.
little tiny strap. And Theodore's mother, she had it was a real old Cadillac.
Uh-huh.
And she drove us down. I remember she drove the front seat, of course.
Yeah.
If she drove, she sat in the front seat. Theodore and I sat in the back seat.
But no, wait, y'all, she drove y'all to
To
Kingsville?
Kingsville,
Oh.
And he stayed in the,
How
Boy,
long is
fella.
it from Goliad to Kingsville?
I guess about 100 miles per
Is that all?
maybe 125.
Hmm.
And see, I stayed in the girls' dorm and he stayed in the, and that's all it was to, all we had to do was just walk up these steps and bow before the man, the queen of the Montana thing. And then I remember in the 4th grade, I'll never forget this, and I remember the dress I had on that Mother had made me, this navy blue dress with polka dot thing. And that's when they had this, I was talking to you about in Papaw.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, they made each child go into this room and undress them to see if they had impetigo. And I remember I was so embarrassed, you know, to have to go in there and undress. And I guess that's why I still remember the dress that I had on was this navy with the white polka dots in it. And that's when they burned all the books because it was just all over school.
Oh, golly Moses.
And so
Well, they just have a big old bonfire?
I don't remember. All I know is they burned all the books in the school.
Well, I'll be there.
And when I was in a senior, is the first part of the year I stayed with Martha and Wheeler. They lived in Cuero, and I took care of FA. And that's when they had the cafe there. And I went to school there, I guess about 3 or 4 months. Because I can remember one weekend Mother coming to get me, and Wheeler didn't want me to go, and Wheeler and Mother had a big bus. And here, it was me that and
What, they wanted you to stay and take care of FA, and
Yeah.
Mama wanted you to come home?
yeah. And he finally went out of business there, and I guess that's, but you know, I don't remember how I got to school.
Go ahead and step in front of it, it won't hurt.
I may have, they may have rented, I might have rented a room, I don't remember, and stayed. And got to finish high school.
Louder.
Did you finish high school though in Goliad or Cuero?
No, Goliad, because I only went about 3 months in Cuero.
Oh.
I thought you finished in Cuero.
No, I went over there during the first part of summer and stayed till, I think about Christmas time. And that's why I think that I had this real close friend named Betty, and she was the only one that just she and I ran around together.
Yeah.
Weren't around with anybody else. And then she moved to California. And you talk about somebody being lonesome. And that's why I always wanted the kids, y'all to have more than one friend, because
Yeah.
I know how much that hurt when
Yeah.
you know, especially this one person you were so fond of.
Wonder how come Betty moved to California?
Because her daddy was an alcoholic, and his folks were quite well off, and he couldn't get a job, and so they moved out there, and Betty's sister got a job working for Safeway, checking groceries, and I think his folks, you know, helped him out every day.
But y'all lost touch of each other, did you?
Yeah. Always after Bert got out of service, they came to visit us.
Well, you went and stayed with them during the service, so didn't you?
Yeah, I stayed with them.
Have you told them that part?
No, I haven't.
You want me to go back in the kitchen?
No, I think it's time that you told them about your life as a child.
All right, switch the cameras
Alright.
on me.
Turn the
Can you do it
camera.
over here? Or?
Yeah.
Can I go put my gown on?
Go put your gown on, Mama.
Oh.
Okay, Papa.
Well, sure good pudding. Y'all should have a bite. I guess I better take my glasses off so you can
This
see
is
what
gonna be a show off.
see better.
This is really gonna be a show off.
Well, what should we talk about?
Well, go back to what you can remember first. Where were you born?
You want me to go back so far that I don't even remember? That far back?
No, that's too far.
That's too far. Okay. Well,
Memories by Burr Wood.
oh, okay. I was born on a.
I'm called Bub because my sister couldn't.
I was born in Kingsville, Texas, in 1920. It seems like 18 something. And I lived on a farm until I was about 2 years old.
And you spoke Spanish back
Were
then.
you born
Yeah.
on a farm?
Well, we were living on a farm when I was born. I was born in the hospital, but they put me back to the farm. And I played with little Mexican kids,
He couldn't stand for
and I couldn't speak English. I could just only speak Spanish. Until I was about 3 years old, we moved to the city of Kingsville. And all the little neighbor kids would tease me because I couldn't talk to them.
I'll be darned, Daddy. I didn't know that.
So my mother said I just clammed up on the Spanish and I never spoke it since.
Huh.
But I used to jabber that stuff.
Well,
I wish I'd have kept it up.
Yeah. She could speak it.
Yeah, she could speak it. And then I don't remember much about the neighborhood around there, just usual kid stuff, I guess. And then I started school at we call it Eastward School. And I can remember my first day at school. I think I cried and came home. And I've been a scholar ever since. But I remember one time had a reading lesson, and I learned the word silver. And nobody else could say silver by reading it. They could say it, of course, but they didn't know how to read it. And I thought that was the best thing in the world. I pointed it in the book. I remember walking home with some kid, and I said, "See that word right there? You know what that is?" And they said, "No," and I said, "It's silver."
You know what, Daddy, I have a word like that I was that way with in the second grade. Mine was island. All my little friends thought it was Island, but I was the only one out of the group that knew it was island, and I thought I was hot stuff.
It's funny how something like that will stick with you.
Yeah.
And then when I was a little kid, I could really run fast. I could run faster than anybody, but I got something wrong with my knees, and then it slowed me down, and I wasn't quite that fast after that. But in school, in Eastward School, which later they named it Lamar School, I guess it's still there. I don't know.
Yeah, I've heard of that school.
Well, anyway, I played on the baseball team. I was the catcher.
How old were you?
Probably 10 or 11, something like that.
Mhm.
They didn't have Little League in those days. And it was softball, it wasn't regular baseball. And then I played football. I don't remember what I played, but we played, there was 3 elementary schools, and we played, one of them was called Flato School, was on or we used to call it Westward, that was on the west side of town. And the Mexicans had a Mexican school, we call that the Mexican school. We would play them football and baseball games, and the Westward bunch would play them.
Mhm.
And Then I can vaguely remember we had a graduation from elementary school. And then I guess I joined the Boy Rangers that's before they had.
Boy Scouts or Cub
No, that
Scouts
was
or-
the next step. You get to be a Boy Scout. That was under 12 years old.
Oh.
And my mother, we were real poor, and you had to have a uniform to go to the meetings.
Uh-huh.
And my mother made mine, and she painted the little Indian head on my pocket.
Yeah.
And I was so embarrassed over that thing. I wouldn't.
Because everybody else had a patch.
Everybody
and
else had a regular store-bought one.
Yeah. Oh.
And I remember one time in school we were having our pictures made, and they wanted me to get on the front row and kneel down.
Uh-huh.
And I had big holes in the bottom of my shoes, and I wouldn't get on that front row and kneel down so people could see my
Yeah.
holes in my shoes.
Well,
And-
Daddy, I didn't know that y'all were kind of poor. I kind of just always thought y'all were about.
Yeah, I guess we
Middle
were
class,
kind of
I
poor.
guess.
My daddy always worked for the railroad, but he didn't ever make very much money. And he was always in poor health.
Was he always all your life? Was he in poor health?
Yeah, all I can remember him was that every afternoon he'd come home from work and he'd sit out in the backyard in the summertime and read his Saturday Evening Post and the paper. And he really didn't ever have much to do with me. It didn't seem like. And I was always sort of instructed to stay out of sight. When he came home, just don't bother him. He's been working hard, so I just stayed out of his hair. Later, when I went off and got drafted, I came home and we went out and drank a. Can I say it?
Yeah, drank a beer.
Drank a beer. And that.
Is that about the only time you?
Yeah, towards. I guess right along in there we had maybe 2 or 3 times we went out and drank a beer. But that's about all. He was always. I knew he always liked me, but he didn't ever have much time for me because I guess he was feeling bad.
Yeah. Well, that's sad, Daddy.
Yeah. That was.
You know, as a granddaughter to him, I have kind of about the same memories of
Yeah.
it. You just stayed out of his way. You didn't mess with him.
Yeah, he really wasn't mean. He just probably didn't feel good.
Yeah.
He smoked his Prince Albert cigarettes. Remember that?
Yeah. Did he roll them or?
Yeah, he rolled his own Prince Albert cigarettes, and he'd smoke them, and the ashes would fall on his shirt and burn holes in his shirts. And he had these cheap J.C. Penney shirts. You just can't depend on them anymore. I never will forget that. All his shirts had holes in them.
Oh. But now, Granny, I know, never had a sewing machine, but yet she.
Yeah, she had one, but it didn't work.
Oh. Well, I never knew she even owned one. I
Yeah,
knew
it was called a white sewing machine.
I've heard of those. Yeah.
But it never did work.
Well,
At least nobody ever used it. I guess it didn't work.
You know, was dress that Elizabeth was
Mary did.
made it on her.
Granny made it by hand, didn't she?
Never
Well,
mind.
I thought she didn't. She make all of Aunt Elizabeth's clothes and her own clothes by hand.
Yeah, I think so.
And so
Oh, Lordy
she
mercy.
had brought flowers.
Oh, when I was a little kid there in Kingsville, I had an old barn out behind the house, and I had a bunch of pigeons in it, and they would fly all over town and then come home and roost.
Yeah.
And my mother always had a bunch of old alley cats.
Mhm.
And every once in a while, one of those cats would catch one of my pigeons, and I'd find a little pile of feathers. So that was execution time. I'd kill me a cat every time I'd lose a pigeon.
Execution.
Poor damn cats would catch him. And one time when had a litter of 5 little kittens, and that was just too much. So I put them
That was too much.
in a 5-gallon bucket and fill it full of
Oh,
water.
Daddy, you poor kid.
That was kind of cruel. I have to admit that.
Now, are you confessing that in front of Simon?
Don't tell Simon about that.
Simon knows.
And then when I went to high school, I played football. We didn't have a very good team. And I don't remember anything about baseball, but I ran on the track team. And we had a real good coach. I liked him. I think a little bit later, after probably about right after the war started, he died of a heart attack. I heard later. I never did see him after that. And then that was along by the time the war was beginning to start in 1939 and 40. Along in there was always, you'd see a freight train load of scrap iron, and everybody's comment was, going to Japan, they'll probably be shooting it back at us pretty soon. That was, every time you said, that's what the comments would be.
Well, darn it, sure enough,
And
that was right.
sure enough, it turned out to be the truth. And then I went to they had a school, a trade school out at the college, and they said if you go graduate from that trade school, you can get a job making big money in San Antonio. So I went to this trade school, and they really didn't teach me anything, but I graduated. Just, I think it was a rip-off the way they were. They'd take you out there and show you supposedly how to be a welder or a sheet metal worker. And I graduated in about a couple of months. I went to San Antonio and put in an application at Kelly Field, and I got a job making big money.
How much is that?
$1,440 a year.
Oh my goodness sakes.
For a whole year, I'd make $1,440.
What you making now?
And it probably was more than I'm making now. $1,440. That was a year, Esther. I make more than that for doing nothing now. But and then I would come home on the weekends, and that's when I met the other part of this film. And
That hurt.
huh?
That hurts.
What hurts?
Forget
Oh. So I'd come home on weekends to see Esther, and I started to join the Navy. I went and took the physical. I was supposed to come back the next day, or 2 or 3 days to be sworn in. And Esther, no, that was after we were already married, wasn't it? Yeah. Oh, that's right, after this happened after we were already married. I was going to join the Navy. Esther had gone home to see her mother because I was about to get drafted or something, wasn't I? So I don't know what, but anyway, I didn't go back. I didn't join the Navy.
Daddy,
Yeah.
tell about when you and your little boyhood friends would spend the night out in somebody's backyard and y'all go bike riding.
Oh, I guess I was back in probably the 6th or 7th grade, along in there. During the summertime, we built hammocks out of a piece of canvas. We'd have our mothers sew a place where we could stick a piece of pipe in there, a little tuck. Is that what you call it, a tuck? And then we'd put a rope on the end of this piece of pipe, and it'd be kind of like a cot, but we'd have it about 5 feet off the ground, and we'd sleep out there. We'd stretch it real tight, so it was real.
Yeah.
If you get a little off balance, the thing would flip on you. You couldn't dare stand up in the thing. I mean, it'd really flip. But we'd ride our bicycles around at night, and
What'd you wear?
And on several occasions the dares were out about riding it naked. And we rode one time all the way to Main Street and back without any clothes. But there was probably about 4 of us, just giggling all the way. That was really something. Nobody ever caught us on that. And I remember I used to, back in those days, my mother would buy matches by the carton. I guess it'd probably be 6 cartons of kitchen matches and
Yeah.
and she'd buy them because you always lit your stove with your gas stove with a match. And I'd get me a box of those matches. It's probably 200 or 300, 400 matches in there, and you could throw those matches up in the air and they'd come down and hit on the pavement and they'd strike. And we'd just leave a trail up and down streets with those darn matches. You look back and you see those little matches twiggling, burning in the street. Wonder we had to set something on fire, you know.
Oh golly Moses, I don't know how y'all.
There really wasn't much traffic at all around town. Once in a while a car would come by, but not very much.
Yeah.
We'd lay out on the street light at night. No, not naked. We had clothes on then. That was just a fad for 2 or 3 days, I guess, or weeks. We might not have done it over 30 or 40 times. That was, I guess, J.A. Shields. And,
That's who Jay's named after, isn't it?
yeah, and Judy Nicholson. It seemed like there was somebody else that slept out there with us all the time. I can't remember who it was. But there was probably about 4 of us. But we sleep out there almost every night.
What about Sonny?
I really never did start running around Sonny till in high school. He was a little older than I am. He's about a year older. And
Well, Daddy, tell about the time y'all climbed up the tower at the school.
the fad was to the high school had what they call a dome on it, and then underneath the dome was a belfry. And everybody wanted to paint the graduation number on the dome.
Yeah.
You didn't have
And we were always painting numbers on the dome, and somebody else come along and paint it off, and there was always a fight or something over the. I know my daddy forbid me to go up there, and I didn't really go up there but 2 or 3 different times.
just 2 or 3 different times.
Yeah. But they used to have some pretty big fights over that thing.
But wasn't it real dangerous to
Yeah,
do
it was
that?
about I guess about 4 stories high. And on the top of the high school one night, it was a tile roof, you know, that red tile.
Yeah, Spanish tile.
This guy named C.E. Hoblet was chasing somebody, and he slipped and fell from that 2-story thing, and he landed in a big old bush.
Oh my God, that saved his life, didn't
Yeah, it didn't do anything but scratch him up.
I'll be darned.
They say, I wasn't up there that night, but they say he hit.
Was that his last trip up?
Probably so. But he said that he landed in there and scratched him all up, and he jumped out of there and ran home. Just didn't tell anybody. I mean, they all saw it. A lot of them saw it. And another time there was a guy named Delbert Ping. It seemed like I was up there that night. He was in the belfry, walking around looking up. You had to get in the belfry, and then you had to go around the outside of the roof, which is a ledge about, I guess a couple of feet that you'd kind of have to snake yourself around and hang out over this 4-story deal. It's real spooky.
Good night.
And anyway, he was walking down inside this belfry, and there was a trap door that somebody had taken top of this trap door off.
Oh my gosh.
And that was the ladder leading down into the attic of the high school, which was probably about a 10-foot drop to the floor of the attic. Now I'd be damned if he didn't just step in there, caught the back of his head on the edge as he went down.
Golly.
Didn't hurt him real bad, I don't think.
Good night.
And
Golly.
that was quite an experience up dome there.
I bet so.
And one time, the C.E. Hoblett's daddy had a sailboat, and he sold it to Gerald Wiseman. And we used to go sailing all the time. It's a pretty good sized old boat. When the wind was really good blowing, we fixed up kind of a surfboard that we could ride behind it. It was really a lot of fun. We sail all over that bay down there.
Yeah.
I think finally a storm hit and tore the boat up. But we spent a lot of time there. And then we used to go to Mathis Lake a lot and camp out over 2 or 3 days.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. I guess Sonny and Jay and Kirk and Rob. And
Well, which one got his thumb blown off? With the
oh,
cherry
that was a neighbor kid. He was a real young little kid. He built a firecracker with his daddy's shotgun shells.
Ooh.
And he put it in an old sock. And he lit that sock on fire. And nothing happened. And he reached over and picked that thing up, and it exploded in his hand.
Golly. I was wondering it didn't blow his whole hand off.
It blew it up, mangled his hand pretty bad, and blew his thumb off.
Ugh.
I remember I heard that explosion and a scream, and they rushed him to the hospital. I went over and looked, and I saw his thumb over there on the ground.
Did you think to take it into the hospital?
It was all mangled. I don't think they could have put it back. But anyway, he lost his thumb over that.
Isn't that awful?
I never did know the little kid. He was kind of a weird kid.
Gosh, evidently.
He's probably about 5 years younger than I am. In other words, I was a teenager then. He was probably about 7 or 8 years old.
Oh, yeah.
Just should have known better to get in his daddy's shotgun shells, but he didn't.
Yeah. Well, tell about that time that your mom came home and found blood all in the house.
Oh, I was on a fence over at this kid's house that blew his finger off.
Yeah.
And I jumped off the fence and landed on a broken milk bottle. And I cut my foot. Still got the scar. Right there. Can you see that?
I could zoom in.
That's about it there. And I went home and nobody was home and I couldn't get the thing to stop bleeding. I walked all over the house. When my mother got home, I think she got excited over it. I can't really remember. But I lived over it, as you can see.
Well, where did you go after? Because you weren't home when she came home, were you? I mean, she just came home to a bloody house, didn't she?
I don't remember.
Seems like I can remember her telling that story, and seems like.
First time I've ever heard it.
Oh, really? Well,
Yeah, I remember jumping off that fence, and it must have been a pretty good cut, but
that must have been.
they didn't do any stitches in it. I don't guess they knew how back days. But then one time I had a wart on my finger. You see that scar right there? I went to the doctor and he got out kind of what you'd call a little electric soldering iron. Well, he gave me a shot or two to kill the pain, and he burnt that thing off big enough to put my little finger in that hole.
Good grief.
And then that smell, I'm telling you, I got sick in the dome. I think it'd been better to keep that water. But that scar is still real big there, but that wart left. And in case any of you people are watching this big movie here, I'll tell you how to get rid of it. The jockey itch. Well, have you ever heard of Jim Wade's foot medicine? Well, one night it got to really bother me, so I went in the bathroom and I doused it real good all over down there. It burnt quite a bit. I stood over a floor fan for a while. But then it settled in okay after about 30 or 40 minutes. Then about 4 days later, all that skin peeled off. It was just nothing but raw. And I'd go to work. I was working for Esther's brother in Harrell. And he'd send me home, and I'd get home, and Esther would send me back to the work. Finally, I went to the doctor, and he liked to die laughing at me. And he sent me home, maybe soaking in the bathtub with some kind of solution he gave me. But since that day, I've never had the jockey strap itch. That's Jim Wade's foot medicine. But that stuff is really good. It's for your athlete's foot, especially. Now, what do you want to know, Susan?
I can't quit laughing.
I should send them that as a commercial, huh?
You'd be sure to win some kind of a prize.
But honest to goodness, that stuff is good. I've got kind of a fungus underneath my toenail right now, and I've been putting it on there for a while. Someone's gonna give here pretty soon.
Oh goodness. Well, Daddy, tell about when the photographer would come by to take y'all's picture.
On the ponies, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, he came by and took my picture on a pony, but I don't know what happened to the
I wonder
picture.
where that picture would be. I'd like to have that picture. Mama, did you ever have a picture like that made?
Have one of you.
Yeah.
You've got it, I think.
Yeah, you've got it on your wall over there.
Yeah, it's there on the wall.
Yeah, the 5x7.
Ask me some more questions. Get this show on the road.
Oh, well, tell about the hog in the store.
Oh,
The hog.
during
the hog. They're in Alice at the grocery
yeah,
store.
when we had that grocery store in Alice, we would I would process deer during deer season, and one afternoon or after lunch, I sent somebody, I guess it was Lamar Bowden, out to.
Did you know he worked
Yeah,
for us?
You didn't know
That's
he worked?
right, I had forgotten.
Anyway,
Yeah.
I sent him to the auction barn to buy me a pig, and he bought the last pig they had out there. The show was over.
I did not know it was Lamar that bought the pig.
I'm pretty sure it was Lamar. Well, we'll put that in for the story anyway. And he brought that pig there, and I was gonna kill that pig, and I tied it up close to the back door of the store. Behind the store, we built this shed over there where we processed the deers, back kind of behind the store. And I got that pig up, I got a big claw hammer, and I hit that pig in the head. Uh-oh. Time out my cake.
Okay.
Are you gonna go get the cake?
Let me put that on stop.
Oh, I'll go get it. Stop.
Wow, Daddy.
So, sorry about the interruption, but you heard that bell. I had to go get the cake out of the oven. Okay, back to the pig now.
From the cake to the pig.
From the cake to the pig. Okay, and that pig let out a tremendous squeal.
Now, Daddy, tell what hour of the day you were doing this.
It's about 2 o'clock in the afternoon or so.
And this is during.
What time was it? About 5 o'clock.
About 5:30, the rush hour.
Yeah.
Okay,
about-
customers
We had a
wandering in the store.
and I hit that thing again, and it squealed louder. And Jay was up front, and he came back and opened that back door, and I hit that pig again, and it squealed and echoed in through the store. Finally, this guy named
ran out through the door.
yeah, the pig. I think he got loose and almost went in the store. That would have been real.
Really exciting.
Anyway, I think Bogey got the hammer and finished the job.
Is that what y'all finally did the life of the pig over with?
Yeah, and we finally went ahead and skinned the pig, and I didn't come out very good on it because it was, as I said, it was the last pig they had, and it was a mama pig about to have a bunch of little pigs. So all that added waste was lost. Plus
Yeah.
the poor little pigs didn't make it. But the next day, one of the neighbors, Mr. Bachik, I'll never forget that, came over and said, I'd like to buy some spare ribs, some fresh spare ribs, and don't say you don't have them. I know you got some fresh spare ribs in the store. He really got a kick out of telling me about those fresh spare ribs. And I think I sold him the spare ribs.
Were they that hog's spare ribs?
Yeah, they were that hog. It cut up into, see, I'd sell the pork chops and spare ribs, and we ground up the rest of it and made deer sausage out of it.
Yeah.
So that was quite funny, I thought.
But Mama, didn't you say that there? It seems like I remember you telling about the hog that when that hog would let out a squeal, that customers would say, "I believe I hear a hog." And didn't you say, "Oh, I didn't hear anything"?
I was just afraid. I thought the thing was coming out the aisle.
Boy, it's a wonder that thing hadn't got in the store, I tell you.
Would that have been something?
Well, anyway, business kept getting not very much better. In fact, it kept getting worse, and we decided, or I decided to get out of the thing to go to San Antonio with Sam Young. Okay. Well, anyway, that didn't work out either, so we
This is his last story.
Susie and Bill moved to Houston, and Missy was about to appear upon the scene, so we moved to Houston to be close to Susie and Bill and whoever was coming along. And right after that, they moved. So where did y'all move to Corpus Christi?
No, we moved to Dulcie.
Oh, y'all moved to Dulcie. And here we're stuck in Houston. We've been here ever since. That was when, 1969?
1968.
68?
Mm-hmm. Well, no, we moved. Wait a minute.
When was Bessie born?
She was born in 68.
Well, that's when we moved here, it was 69.
Okay, but what month?
In April, about April.
No, maybe so.
Because I have pictures, Mother, of. We were still here when Missy was a year old in Houston.
Did y'all buy that house over on Sedell?
Yeah.
And then we lived on Bobbitt Square, didn't we?
Uh-huh.
On Wirt Road.
Wirt Road at
Yeah.
Bobbitt Square.
Uh-huh.
And we lived there about a year? Or
Well, at
two.
least,
About-
and then y'all go
Actually,
to
For
Dallas.
2 years, and it changed for 2 years.
Okay.
And then we bought this place.
What happened to Foxmore or something like that? Was that
Fox-
Kingsborough?
Fox Hall.
Oh, Fox Hall, yeah.
Yeah. We lived there about 2 years. And then we've been, so we must have lived 69 and 70 and then 71 and 72 at Fox Hall, and then we moved here in 72.
Okay, and that was when Jennifer was a little bitty thing.
Where was Jennifer born?
She was born in here in Houston
At
And-
Rosewood.
at Rosewood.
Rosewood, yeah. And that was in,
That was 6 weeks before we moved to Dulcie.
I remember Missy was so cute when She must have been, because she was, I remember her standing up on the couch and looking out the front door, and the kids were out there playing.
Mm-hmm.
And they were older than her, and they really wouldn't play with her. But she'd stand up on that couch, and she'd holler out, and she'd say, "I'm sorry, but I can't come play with you."
And they didn't even know she was there.
No, they didn't know she was there.
And when we were living at the Foxhole Apartments, Missy got her first spanking.
Oh yeah. And,
I
Susie
was-
got her nose out of joint.
I was watching Missy while Susie went grocery shopping, I guess,
Or somewhere.
and I took Missy for a walk to the swimming pool. I held her hand. We walked down there, and I let her play in the water. And I kept telling her, "Don't you ever come out this swimming pool by yourself. You always come with somebody." And then we walked. We lived about 50 yards from the pool, and we walked home. And I guess I went to the bathroom. Missy was sitting in the living room, and I came back, and she was gone. You know how long it takes to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Wasn't very long, so I ran out, and there she was down at that swimming pool playing putting her hands in that water. So I grabbed her up by the arm, and I kind of patted her little bottom all the way back to the apartment. And just as I was getting home, Susie drove up and caught me spanking Missy.
And I was horrified. I thought, my daddy is spanking my daughter. Oh no.
So that was Missy's first and only spanking.
I'm sure.
I wouldn't call it a spanking. I was just. Was she
Yeah.
crying?
Well, she needed to be. If she wasn't, yeah.
Well, I can't remember whether she's crying or not.
She probably was. 'Cause
Probably
that's
was.
Probably shock time for her.
But anyway, that was kind of funny now, but it wasn't
Yeah,
then.
it wasn't then, was it? It seems like, didn't I just whisk Missy up and away I went?
Sure did. Well, we're gotta go. I don't think I got to keep Missy after that for quite some time.
Well, that was stupid on my part because you were trying to save her life.
Yeah, that's about right. That was really funny, I thought.
Stupid, huh?
Oh, no. It wasn't too smart.
Her
on my
first kid getting a spanking. I
Yeah.
can't understand it.
part.
She wouldn't stay long enough for me to explain what happened. How long was it before you realized what?
Daddy, no telling. Because I mean,
5 or 6 years after that. I
well,
think.
it could have
5 or
been
6 years long.
That's so
She
good.
still hasn't forgiven him.
Oh, golly.
I ought to go get my cat and show my cat off.
Well, go get Simon. Where is Simon?
Stop the film.
Okay, we'll stop the
Be right back with
She's sitting in a chair and
with Simon. I told.
Camera's suitcase.
it's mine
See, Simon, you're in the movies. Yeah. Get mean. Look mean to him.
Well, Daddy,
Yeah.
tell about our sailboat.
Oh, Susie and I went sailing one time.
Nikki, have you ever heard this story before?
I just bought me a new pair of shoes, didn't I? And Esther wouldn't go sailing with us.
She was the smart one of the group.
And I think we rented this little slough about, what was it, about a...
Daddy, we didn't even know what a sleigh was.
Well, it was whatever it was. It was... 2 people could ride on it, and we... The first thing that happened, I stepped on the thing, and it flipped me in the water with my new pair of shoes.
Well, I didn't think we got wet when we left the dock.
Well, maybe this was another sailing...
I'm talking about where at Kima or someplace
Well,
like
that's,
that.
I guess it's just Esther and I went down there, and I did that by myself. But anyway, with Susie and I, we went sailing, and we...
Was that in Rockport? It was in kind of a little cubby hole. Huh? There was a restaurant right across from where we were.
Yeah, we put on a show for
We
them.
put on a show. We entertained those people. They should have paid us.
It would flip over with both of you.
Well, we kept trying to get it to come back to shore when we realized we didn't know how to make the thing turn.
The more we try to go that way, it would go back the other way.
Uh-huh.
So we finally just said, to heck with it, and we pulled it back.
No, we got it, we fell in the water.
And we swam and pulled the boat
And pulled the
back.
boat back to the dock. But we looked up and there were all these people pressed with their noses against the glass windows, laughing at us.
Yeah, we probably flipped it about 3 or 4 times.
Before we finally gave up.
Yeah.
I'm sure they thought
Y'all
that we were a
stayed
show.
underwater more than you
We
did.
did.
Yeah, Simon,
We
we're
were
still in the
soaking
movies.
wet. That was the funniest thing. I never laughed so hard after we got back to shore.
But that sailing, we could go pretty good with the wind, but when we try to go,
Against it. And see, we didn't even know what the bottom of the boat, the keel, isn't that the keel?
yeah,
We didn't know starboard and port and all that.
yeah, that was quite a trip.
I think, Daddy, when we said, now I wonder what this thing is, and we pulled it up, and that was the bottom of the boat coming up, and that, of course, is what keeps you
Don't turn it
sitting in the
over.
water. And that's when we flipped.
Simon left the scene, I guess you noticed. Now, what do you want to talk about?
Well.
Somebody who didn't want to talk.
Well, that's
How much
what,
film have you got?
I don't know. Let's see what I got left on the battery here. I got 3 dashes.
that's good. Turn it
Yeah.
off, Miss Red Stuff, for a while.
Okay.